First of all, I would just like to say that the people who are inserting their political activism into the world of dolls are driving me nuts, okay? Could you at least do your due diligence and read? Okay, because this DEI thing isn't about your plastic little dollies, okay? It is about real live people. So, let's do a little reading. Mattel retreats from DEI disclosures amid government crackdown. The company is the latest of several across the entertainment industry, including Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Amazon Studios, to scale back disclosures over diversity, equity, and inclusion. Barbie, whose film arm has major movie ambitions, is backing away from diversity, equity, and inclusion disclosures to investors. In a move to avoid winding up in the crosshairs of the government's campaign against DEI. Now, why would the government be interested in Mattel's DEI? Okay, it's because corporations report on EEO-1 information so that they can get tax breaks for having a certain diverse culture. Now, why would you freak out if you are actually diverse and reporting your diversity correctly? But if the government is pressing on the federal judges to force corporations to disclose more information and more specific information on the diversity of their board of directors, their management, then they're going to have a very clear view inside your company to know if what you're reporting is true or you're just trying to get a false tax break. And that would freak them out because they might look around and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I thought we were more diverse than this. So let's say let's say that you're supposed to, in order to get this tax break, have 10% of each one of your major divisions, executive staffs, be some sort of minority. Female, some sort of minority, or some sort of disabled person. And so you have one out of every 10 people to be able to file in this tax break, to file for this tax break, right? But you actually have 15 people. So what are you going to do? Okay, you can either hire some more to even it out, but that costs money and it's going to cut into your profit. So the next best thing to offset that is to let people go. And that's exactly what they're doing. And if you've worked at enough companies, you know this is a fact. When they want to create a profit and they're not getting their profit margins, who do they usually let go? The people who are working hard at producing the things that are needed. The peons, the people at the bottom, that's who they usually let go of in mass numbers. It's rare, very, very rare, for you to see these major corporations start hemorrhaging from the upper management. The only reason you're seeing that is because they're freaking out because they were misfiling. Okay? And so in order to make it look appropriate, if Trump keeps pushing, like, hey, corporations, do you really need to be paying us more money? Because you've been getting this tax break, but I wonder if you really are diverse. So, In a move to avoid winding up in the crosshairs of the government campaign against DEI, Mattel scrubbed references tied to boosting diversity at the company. Compared to previous years when it highlighted its commitment to such initiatives, Mattel omitted DEI resources and goals. The pivot was apparent in investor disclosures filed on April 3rd ahead of shareholder meeting in May. The changes come amid an escalating drive by the Trump administration against DEI programs that has prompted several companies in the entertainment industry, including Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Amazon, to roll back diversity initiatives, and a court ruling striking down requirements to disclose diversity on the board of directors. In a statement, Mattel said that inclusion is part of our DNA. It added, "We foster an environment that attracts incredibly talented people and a culture of respect and belonging that we're very proud of, which benefits our business and consumers as it relates to our products and experiences. Play is our language, and we speak to our consumers authentically by representing the world as they see and imagine it." Mattel Films in 2023 released its first feature, Barbie, through Warner Brothers. It has Hollywood in its sights as it plans further adaptations of popular toy lines into movies. Okay, let's skip that area. And in 2024 proxy statement, Mattel told investors that it aspired to increase representation of ethnicity at all levels of the organization. They aspired to. Interesting. It pointed to several employee resource groups intended to boost collaboration between underrepresented identities across the company. Sounds like a lot of talk. This is fancy corporate talk. Mattel also reported data about its board of directors, demographics, and stressed changes to the board in recent years, citing figures that shows 30% of nominees were minorities. Okay, folks, do you know what the word nominee means? It means, hey, look, we've been nominating minorities to be here. Nominating, but nomination does not mean you got it. And it doesn't mean it's there. It just means, 1/3 of them. And that's such a very specific number. 30%. So in order to get the tax break, does your diversity amongst your entire company supposed to be 30%? They can't even make 30% for their board of directors? I know this sounds like, especially if you're white, you're probably thinking, come on, 30% is high. You guys really want 30% of the corporate board to be black? No. Minorities, female included. That means there's no... Imagine a toy company, especially the Barbie division, not having that many women? So, you don't have 30% that are at least women? Some minority, and it doesn't have to be black, Hispanic, Asian, disabled. We know a lot of them are gay, but that's a whole nother topic. For me, there's just some irony in that the people that are pro DEI being upset that Bill Grenning was fired, laid off, because ultimately he's a white man. And I'm not saying he wasn't good at his job. He was great at his job. Actually, the people on the opposite team that are against DEI should be really upset that they fired Bill Grenning. People pro DEI should want all these executives replaced with some sort of minority or female, technically. It's just that people can step into and out of their sexuality very easily. I can't hide my skin color. A female can't hide the fact, well, kind of, but not very easily. Mattel's DEI stance is changing. What is HR taking away from this story? Mattel may have made a killing on its diverse Barbie line and the movie of the same name that took the world by storm, but it's also joining a long line of businesses in their pro-diversity pullback. Mattel's DEI policy has taken a hit, winding back the company's commitments to the goals it once prided itself on. That could have been a show, because when DEI is a big thing, then they're going to push forward like, oh, we're totally working on it. But were they? Because I don't think that they would be freaking out about the government doing its due diligence, trying to push forward and check if you truly deserve this tax break, if you really were doing it. A new report by Bloomberg Law explained that as a result of potential DEI investor concerns, why are the investors concerned? These are the things we need to be asking ourselves. Why were they concerned? Mattel removed all references to these initiatives from its 2 recent investor filings. I believe later in this article, it's actually going to state that the concern from the investors was that the political atmosphere seems to be anti-DEI, and that's more why they want to roll back. Okay, the company's proxy statement to shareholders this time around was very different from the one presented last year. As Mattel stops DEI reporting in 2025, it appears that the policies of diversity and equity are truly dying down in the corporate world. To me, if you're a diverse company and you put out diverse products, this shouldn't be something the government is forcing on you. You say that you want to make the most diverse dolls, then you're going to naturally want to have the most diverse line of thoughts. Like, for Black History Month, you shouldn't have needed to bring back Kitty Perkins. You should have already had enough Black people on board in your entire company, even if that's 3, in order to put out a good Black History doll. Let's be honest. Mattel retreats on DEI amidst investor pressure. Mattel is stopping its DEI reporting in 2025. That's where the story begins. In a proxy statement shared by shareholders in the May 28th meeting, it was found that the company had excluded all mention supporting diverse, equitable, and inclusive communities, which was part of the statement presented last year. Since 2022, Mattel's DEI reporting also included a chart on the diversity of the board members ever since NASDAQ made it a requirement, but the detail is no longer required. As a result, Mattel's DEI disclosures on board diversity were found to be missing as well. It's unclear if this will also mean an eventual change to the composition of its board, but as of now, it's only the reporting of data that has changed. Okay, so on the positive note, the board of directors is at least meeting its diversity quota based on the past, but they aren't presenting those numbers anymore. So just because you're not stating your DEI doesn't mean that in the background things are changing. This is the positive. Though I'm still concerned because sometimes people report numbers, especially corporations, but those numbers aren't necessarily true. Like, to me, why would you be so worried about the government cracking down if those numbers you were reporting to NASDAQ were true? As investor concerns around DEI remain a focal point for businesses. As Mattel stops DEI reporting in 2025, there's been a general countrywide shift among businesses and their vocal commitments to diversity. This changing political climate has made it controversial for businesses to explicitly showcase DEI policies, especially considering that political groups have been urging them to rethink their stance on the issue. Investors are growing, and I know this is a hot take. Hire the best. Hire the best, because I want the best. It's also racist to hire someone who's not the best, but meets your diversity quota. But I also think it's important to take it in sometimes because, for example, like I was just mentioning with the Black History Month, if your quota really is met as being this diverse culture, why did you have to bring back Kitty Perkins? Shouldn't your culture have already been diverse enough that you had enough ethnic designers to create a doll for Black History Month? So, and I'm not just outside of Black, like, shouldn't you have other minorities to help you create these dolls for the Latin, the Hispanic group, for the Asians? They should have some representation for dolls that you are putting out that are part of your diversity line. And I don't think that they should be talking about DEI like it's a selling point. Like, oh, buy from Mattel. Our company promotes DEI. And in the background, your company's not diverse. I mean, what the heck? Investors are growing worried that in 2025, the commitment to DEI might cause both the government and the customers to turn away their support for the brand. Some businesses like Costco and Apple have held off giving in to the pressure of scaling back diversion and inclusion policies. But others like Target, Walmart, and Amazon have scrubbed all evidence of DEI from their books. Costco saw a lot of support online for its commitment to DEI, but it's unclear which way the axe might swing next. All businesses are attempting to address investor concerns surrounding DEI, Mattel including, but there is still some uncertainty on how to proceed. What consequences will Mattel face from retreating? The exclusion of DEI terms from Mattel's documentation may be small and subtle shift, but it has greater implications for the company and its employees. While a company like McDonald's might be able to backtrack from its DEI commitments more easily, for Mattel, a brand that has built itself on the back of diversity principles through its Barbie line, even before it became trendy to claim to be a diverse company, it's a riskier bet. Will its consumers take well to the erasure of DEI language from Mattel records? Will this news even trickle down to the core consumer base? Apparently it is, so. The chatter on the topic is currently low, is it? So we may not see any major consequences of Mattel dropping DEI. There has been a talk of boycott on social media forums like Reddit and YouTube, but it's too soon to see whether it will materialize into active action. Investors may be satisfied with Mattel's decision, but will give them the confidence the company needs to commit to the exclusion. Mattel has not explicitly announced its retreat from DEI policies yet, which may be the direction many other organizations go as well. Yeah, you don't need to actually talk about it. Be about it. Okay, that's the important thing. You want to be diverse? Be diverse. Nobody's stopping you. The problem is you're talking about DEI like it's a selling point. Okay? The whole term there was, before it was popular, something like that. Where was it? Let's see. Where? There's been talk of, has built itself on the back of diversity principles through its Barbie line, even before it became trendy. Trendy? DEI as trendy, that's just an insult. Hire people based on their skill level and based on the needs of your company. Okay? Just remember, all corporations need to remember that you are providing service to a diverse population. And so it is important for your company to also, through its employees, reflect that diverse line of thought.
Thanks for playing dolls with me.